Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the trilogy. People in this book have superpowers, but they are the bad guys. They act in selfish ways and in their own self-interest. So, superhuman man of steel, Steelheart, right? That's the main focus of this, and he is a corrupted version of Superman, but with the ability to turn things to steel when he gets angry. So impenetrable skin, can fly, shoot lasers, but can also turn things to steel. So set in the fictional future of Newcago, or Chicago, called Newcago, Steelheart turned the majority of the city and part of Lake Michigan to steel. And so, but it has kind of an added benefit that he becomes almost like a king or a dictator, in that he stabilizes Chicago and provides stability, electricity, but also blankets Chicago in darkness. So he causes everyone to fear him, and that control he uses to stabilize, where the rest of the United States is, in anarchy and chaos. Basic utility services aren't available, but they are here in Newcago. So centers around an orphan who grows up in a weapons factory but turns 18 and decides what he wants to do with his life. His father was killed by Steelheart, and there's kind of flashbacks to that day in the bank, and he is witness to the only injury that Steelheart ever has, is a scar on his face. And so this a long ago, I think when he's like 8 and now he's 18, so almost a decade ago, calamity rises. It looks like a giant red star, and ever since, these superpowers sprout up randomly, or they don't know the how they're gained, but it could be anybody. So things I liked, it's a really convincing world. The main character is a young adult, so it's a coming of age story. But Brandon Sanderson really is authentic in the way that he creates the characters and the way they interact with the world. So I really liked that. I really liked the main character makes a lot of mistakes. And some of them aren't even I'm gonna learn from it and move on. Some of it's just like, I screwed up, like, boom, done, end of story, moving on. So I liked that. And throughout the book, he tries not to be labeled as a nerd. So in the weapons factory, the smarter ones, or the nerds or whatever, would get taken and made to do administrative duties like accounting or being a secretary or something like that. So he tried to avoid that. But really, his goal is to learn as much. He's obsessed with these superpowers, these epics, they're called. And so he learns as much as he can. He takes notes, watches videos, gets photos, just completely immerses himself and learns as much as he can. And he discovers this group called the Reconers. And they're the only people that we know of that are fighting back against the epics. They don't have superpowers that we know of, but are trying to take them down. The goal being to take back what is, human, and what it means to be human, all that stuff. So the main character wants to join the group. And so the opening scene is with him witnessing a Reckoner trap set for one of the minor epics. So there's a lot of psychology and planning in this. So there's a lot of strategy. There's a lot of action too, which I did like, that it kind of broke up the story. It wasn't just all planning and psychology, but there wasn't really a whole lot of politics. So that was fun. I enjoyed that. Expectations for me were good. It's Brandon Sanderson. He's a great author. But in the book, though, the main character had expectations for what he thought the Reconers would be. And I really liked that as he joined, he found out that they really weren't anything like he expected. That was a really good story driving plot line. I really liked that. He's not able to drive, so I think that kind of hits home with the current generation, the young kids. I've met a number of them who are just like, driving isn't important to me. And, when I was a kid, that was like rite of passage, big deal, all that stuff. So One of my favorite scenes is when the main character is with his counterpart Megan, and she's, you know, frustrated and upset, and he's trying to find the right thing to say. So he sits down and spend next to her and spends all this time trying to figure out what to say, and it ends up being the right, and saying nothing is the right thing to say, even though in his head he was trying to figure out what to say. So that was a really good scene. Oh yeah, the main character is much more driven and collected than I was at 18. Like I didn't want to know what I wanted to do, but he was just like, boom, I'm gonna go chase epics and take them down. Uh, yeah. Again, it fits really nicely in the Brandon Sanderson universe, and one of his signatures is the swear words or cuss words that he uses to add to the language of each series that he's a part of. And so, Sparks slash Calamity, those are the two. And it just really fits in. You know, Calamity is the star, and Sparks, I'm not sure how that, you know, plays into it, but it just really made it, you want to be there and be with the group. So things I didn't like how easily the main character was brought into the group. I feel like, you know, there would be this super paranoid, super, you know, secluded group, which they are, but yeah. So then the other thing I didn't like was the mobile. I feel like it was just like a super tool that kind of was used in every situation. I feel like it was the, you know, the nanobots. Like it's like the technology, just like, we need the plot to have this. Okay, here you go, this thing. So I don't know, but and then Night Wielder, Darkness Over the Skies. It just didn't seem. I don't know. Of all the powers, it just didn't seem the one that fit. It just didn't seem like it fit to me. I don't know how else to describe it other than that. And the last thing really isn't anything to do with the book, but it's the cliche that, you know, is it a cliche? I don't know. Maybe it makes it easier for a reader to relate to, you know, something, but having dead parents, it is something that we will all experience at one point or another. So I guess that's an easy connection. But you know, I feel like every Disney movie has one or two of the parents gone. So I don't know. I guess that makes it easily relatable. But yes, great book, lots of fun. I had a quote in here. There's lots of like, the main character's dad has all these quotes and stuff. So, you know, it's a big part of his situation. But here they're talking about it. Your father believed the best about people. You can call that foolish, but I'd never call it a fault. Yeah, just lots of neat little nuggets of knowledge in there, little quotes and one-liners. But this is the first of three. Can't wait for the next two. And this is a fun, fictional, young adult superhero twisted story. All right. As always, remember to buy your books used and or digital. And I'll see you next time.